Okie fucking dokie, we should be live. We should be live. Fine Monday evening in the UK. The winter is nearly done. We are approaching spring, so fingers crossed the weather gets better. And fingers crossed we get some more good fights coming up, man. This past weekend, of course, Lee Wood versus Michael Conlan, one of the best fights I've seen in the UK for quite some time. To me, Michael Conlan, in that fight, I had him well up going into the 12th round, like maybe 4 or 5 rounds up kind of thing. He was definitely flagging in the last 3 or 4 rounds, but he was still getting the better of a lot of exchanges. Was still tagging Lee Wood at will. But yeah, man, I mean, the wheels just fell off. You know, the hourglass drained. Round 11, of course, man, Lee Wood drops Michael Conlan. And in round 12, knockout of the year contender, comeback of the year contender, fucking knocks Michael Conlan silly through the ropes. Crazy fight, man. Crazy fight. Big up to Nordic. Yeah, big up to Nordic every time. Yep. Wood versus Conlan was incredible. I loved that fight. Yeah, going into it, I was looking forward to it. I did a preview. I was picking Conlan on points. I thought it would be like an intriguing fight, but not like a barnstormer like that. I was really surprised it turned into that sort of fight. Really surprised. I didn't expect that sort of war. But it was a great fight, man. Great fight. And I think what you'll see next with Lee Wood, I'm assuming he's going to fight the Warrington and Kiko Martinez winner. That's what I think is going to happen. That's what I'd assume is going to happen. But Lee Wood, man, listen, Lee Wood he's limited, he's vulnerable. No doubt about it, but he's damn fun to watch, and he carries power. So, big up to Lee Wood and Michael Conlan as well. Put on a great show. Yeah, I was waiting to go live. My mate was at the fight. If I was in Nottingham, I would have gone. Yeah, the atmosphere sounded crazy. Would have been a good fight to go to. Would have been a great fight to go to. That was reminiscent of like the old Froch nights in Nottingham. But the Irish, man, they turned up heavy. For me, it had a good fight feeling beforehand for some reason. I know what you mean. I was expecting an intriguing fight, but not necessarily a barnstormer. But yeah, it was a great fight. When do you think boxing gets to a point where being undefeated doesn't matter as much, like in MMA? I don't think we're going to get to that point anytime soon, quite frankly. I can't see it anytime soon, unfortunately. Big up to Vector04. Hopefully you're well, bro. Hopefully you're well. But yeah, I mean, great fight this weekend. Really, really good fight. Thoroughly enjoyed it. And of course, this weekend, it is this weekend, we have Virgil Ortiz versus Michael McKinson. Have to say, I think Michael McKinson is the sacrificial lamb, to be honest, in that fight. I can't see him going beyond 4 or 5 rounds. I think he might be awkward early on with his southpaw stance, his switch hitting, awkward rhythm, etc. But I think after a couple of rounds, Virgil will just figure this guy out. I don't think he really has to, because as we know, Michael McKinson can't really punch like that. And even if Michael is tricky, there's nothing going to stop Virgil just walking through this dude. So Virgil's going to fuck this kid up, in my opinion. Michael McKinson's a good domestic boxer, no doubt. But to me, Virgil Ortiz is world level. And we also have a card in Dubai on Saturday. Sonny Edwards versus Mohammed Wazeem. He's defending his IBF flyweight title. Decent fight. A really good fight on the undercard. A battle of the gatekeepers. TJ Dehaney versus Cesar Juarez. That's a good fight. And we have Regis Prograis versus Tyrone McKenna on the card as well. So that card in Dubai is not bad. Listen, I think Prograis is going to fuck Tyrone McKenna up. But listen, it's good to see Prograis back. Where does Conlan go? Honestly, bro, I'd like to see it again. But he needs a comeback fight. First and foremost, a long break, a long rest, then a comeback fight, and then try to get that rematch. I'd love to see it again. Also, David Avanesian fights this week. He's defending his European title against a nondescript opponent. He's fighting a guy called Oskari Metz. That's a Frank Warren card, and quite frankly, it looks pretty shit looking at this card. It looks awful. I won't even watch that. Absolutely awful. I could not watch the Wood Conlan fight because I was shopping at the same time. I'll look at it this week. Yeah, give it a watch, Brandon. It's worth a watch. One of the best finishes you'll see to a fight. One of the best finishes. Virgil versus McKinson will be a good fight. I think McKinson could make it awkward, but Virgil stops him in the 9th round. Thank you. Hope you are too. Ortiz is going to do horrible things to him. I agree. Yeah, Virgil will probably just walk him down and stop him late. I think it's going to be mid-rounds, maybe even early. Now that Loma's busy, what's going on with Haney and Cambosos? It's gone quiet. It's gone really quiet. Again, if I was DAZN or Team Haney, I'd be moving heaven and earth to get that fight. Big up to Marcy D. Salute to Marcy. Yeah, Prograis will KO McKenna easily. I agree, but it's going to be good to watch. I like Regis Prograis. Yodel and chat. What a fight Wood versus Conlan was. Going to take something special to top that as fight of the year. What do you make of all of this Plant Durrell talk? The PBC giving the fans what they don't want again. Plant versus Durrell, no interest whatsoever. Give us Benavidez versus Plant. Benavidez is calling for it. Let's make it. Let's have it. Great fight. Durrell's seen better days, man. Not interested. Not fucking interested. And yeah, Wood Conlan, for me, that's fight of the year. Also, Jordan Gill versus Kareem Gurfey was a really good fight. Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, tall, lanky guy like McKenna. I can see Prograis stopping him to the body as well. What's up with Tony Yoka there fighting today? Is Yoka fighting today? He can't be. I know he's fighting in May. He's fighting in May against Martin Bakole. Yeah, he's fighting on the 14th of May, Cash. 14th of May against Martin Bakole. Hey, Del Taro McKenna's too easy to hit. Yep, too easy to hit, body and head. He's straight up and down, 1-2. He's not a great fighter. He's a good domestic fighter, but it could end that way, Brandon. It could end that way, honestly. I agree. Prograis is becoming a waste of talent. Like, he is so inactive, and when he finally fights, he's fighting guys like Redcatch and McKenna. Yeah, the problem he has, in my opinion, is that he doesn't really have any major promotional backing. He's now with Probellum, so we'll see what they can do. But he seems to be a guy who doesn't sell tickets, and he's very good. So he's kind of viewed as high risk, low reward in that sense, because he's not a big name. He's not a big name. And the lack of profile combined with how good he is isn't helping his cause, in my opinion. It's not helping his cause. I got called to pick up my dad and brother who were drinking at a friend's house during the mid-rounds of that fight. I had to rush like fuck to get back in time to see the end. Bro, man, it was a crazy-ass fight, man. It was a crazy fight. Hopefully you got back in time. What are some of the coolest looking fight posters you can recall? I can't even remember, bro. I can't even remember. But the modern ones aren't great. Most of the modern ones aren't great. Some of the ones from the 90s were sick. But these new ones today are pretty shit, in my opinion. It's a good question, though. I'd really need to think about it and go back retrospectively and look. Exactly, Vector. Hearing the winners will face each other, typical PBC. Why can't they just make them fight now? Yeah. To be fair to Benavidez, I know his fight with Lemieux is a WBC eliminator. But, the plant is a bigger fight, so I'd rather see that. Yeah, McKenna's too big for 140. Anorexic, yeah. What do you make of the whole Chelsea situation where Abramovich's assets are frozen in the UK? Surprised they did not do this to Newcastle owner or Man City's owner for human rights. Hypocritical, yeah. I mean, you see Saudi Arabia just this week, and I think they beheaded like 83 people. And obviously, what's going on in Yemen, etc., etc. Their conduct in that region has been questionable, to say the least. But it just doesn't fit the narrative. I mean, I think it not only so Chelsea Football Club's been seized as well. I think it also sets a dangerous precedent for just regular people, because if government can seize your assets just like that, everybody should be concerned about that. But there you go. Progress has spent the past few years talking about how he should have beaten Taylor. He forgot about his own career. Yeah, exactly. Big up to White and Dean. I like that name. Sounds like a fucking solicitor's company. White and Dean, solving all of your legal issues. I did get back in time for the end, and of course my computer restarts just after Conlan got knocked out of a ring. At least you saw it, man. At least you saw it. My last two bets have been Conlan and Linares to win on points, and both got stopped in the 12th while ahead. So aggravating, yeah. Again, I picked Conlan to beat Leewood on points as well. White and Dean pyramid scheme. Rhymes. Who will be fighting for the vacant belts at 140? There's a whole host of names. Jose Ramirez, Regis Prograis, Subriel Matias, Gary Antoine Russell, maybe Tank Davis gets in the mix, who knows? Arnold Barboza, I'm sure Teofimo's going to put his hat in the mix. There's a few names at 140 who can compete. As a Liverpool fan, I do not want Chelsea to fail. I think Chelsea should be okay, because before Abramovich, they were decent. Yeah, I think they'll be okay. It's just getting through this current situation. Yeah, the Irish fans came out in force, man. They made it a great atmosphere. Great atmosphere. Really good fight, man. The atmosphere was crazy. And yeah, Catterall as well. I forgot about him, yeah. There's a lot of guys at 140 who could be in the mix for a vacant title. A lot of guys. Big up to Dell. Wood versus Warrington. I think that fight will happen if Warrington beats Kiko. I can see that fight happening. Makes sense in Leeds. It's Leeds versus Nottingham. There's that football rivalry built in. That will sell tickets. That will sell tickets. I'm telling you. That will sell tickets. But yeah, they'll give Catterall a shot. Yeah, I think they will. I think the WBO will actually enforce it. I think you'll see him be named Mando for a vacant title. Leewood versus Luis Alberto Lopez. Leewood can punch, no doubt about it. And Lopez's defense, he is there to be hit, but he looks tough, he looks strong, and he himself is a power puncher. He can work the body really well. I'd actually favour Lopez to beat Leewood, to be honest, in a bit of a war. Great fight, though. Great fight. I think Fury can return to his condition. We saw him in Wilder versus Fury 2. I don't see why not. He's got, I don't see why not. I'm going to call it now, B-Vol on points, and I know I'm up against it. You're a brave man if you put a bet on that, considering like the political side of things. You're a brave man. You're a brave man. Yeah, Catterall can only fight for the WBO because for the WBA and WBC have mandatories due. The IBF is strict too. Yep. Yeah, Puello and Zepeda are due mandos. Yep. Yeah, I'd love to see a rematch. I think it's a fight that merits one. It was that good. But I mean, it's rare you see that when a guy is trailing by so much, and in the last round he scores a savage knockout like that, or a stoppage in general. It hardly ever happens. I remember the closest I can remember in recent years is Carl Froch versus Jermaine Taylor, because Jermaine Taylor was well ahead on my card, and he stopped Jermaine Taylor in the very last round, like the last 10 seconds. So it's happened before, but it's so rare, man. It's so rare. But yeah, a Wood versus Conlan rematch, I'd love to see it. I'd love to see it. I put it this way, I won't complain if we get that fight. And I tell you what, that what was his name on the undercard? That lightweight, Gary Cully. He's like 6'1", 6'2" at lightweight, and he knocked out Miguel Vasquez, who's a tough dude. He's a tough guy, Miguel Vasquez. And Gary Cully knocked him out quite nicely. So Gary Cully at 135, who knows where he can go? I think Conlan could win a rematch, but I would not count on it. Wood is a winner, yeah. Wood is one of those guys you've got to nail him to the canvas right now. He's been in the wilderness for a long time, Lee Wood. I recall him failing at domestic level years ago against Gavin McDonnell. But he's rebuilt slowly, and he's come back. And look at him now. Look at him now. Fair play to him. I legit thought Conlan might have dropped head first. That's what I was thinking as well. But apparently his brother and his father caught him or broke his fall. So they was alert, man. They was alert. Froch versus Taylor was brutal, yeah. Yeah, Bradis Prescott was well ahead against Mike Alvarado and got KO'd in the last round. That was a crazy comeback. I think it was a 10-rounder. I vaguely remember that fight. Vaguely. I'm sure I saw it. But yeah, I mean, Mike Alvarado back then was so fun, man. His 2 fights with Rios, the Provodnikov fight, you know, that fight just right there as well. He had some good fights out Alvarado. Yeah, 6'2" at lightweight's insane. Is Gary Cully, since he's 6'1", would he be a weight bully? I guess you would say so. Listen, sometimes I think people, when they use the term weight bully, they'll use it for a tall guy at a weight class. It's not always the case. Some people are just more naturally skinnier than others. Like if I was fighting, let's say I was training, I was fighting, I could. So I'm walking around like what 168 now. I'm nearly 6'2". I could probably get down to 154 pretty comfortably, and there'd be guys outweighing me in that weight class, despite me being taller and longer. So height is not necessarily the only indicator of who's a weight bully, if that makes sense. Some people are more naturally lean than others, kind of thing. Chad Dawson versus Andre Fanfara was another one. Last round, come from behind, stoppage win. There's been a few actually. Now, yeah, there's been a few. Well, the last time I heard, yes, that's the plan. I don't know why that is the plan, but there you go. There you go. Get that Roman fight on. Yeah, man, tough old boys. Tough old boys. If Congo beat McKinson, reckon we would see him against Ortiz? No, Volta, no. I think if Chris Congo beat McKinson, they would actually try to develop Chris Congo because he's got a more interesting, entertaining style. Whereas Michael McKinson, listen, he's coming off a couple of good wins, but like his style is tedious, and you can never make that guy a star. So it's worth cashing him out. That's how I see it, anyway. That's how I see it. Yeah, Alvarado versus Rios 1 and 2 were brutal wars. Third fight was sad because Mike was shot. Yeah, Mike Alvarado for a short period of time was a really entertaining fighter. Really entertaining fighter. Honestly, what it was in regards to Mike Alvarado, I think that Provodnikov fight really took a lot out of him. I think it really took a lot out of him. Is Showtime schedule revealed today or tomorrow? No idea. I didn't even know they was doing a schedule announcement. That's the best case scenario for Michael McKinson. If he goes in there and loses but puts on a good show, his status isn't affected at all because ultimately it's a fight he's supposed to lose. So if he does okay, that's actually good for him, you know? This is a no-lose. Like, unless he gets like brutally knocked out in a round, this really is a no-lose situation for Michael McKinson. He's going to get paid well, and if he puts on a good show, his reputation is going to increase. Good fight, yeah. Gary Cully versus Giovanni Straffon. I would watch it, Rem. That's a good shout. That's a good shout. Avanesian versus Leharaga was hella underrated. Yeah, the first fight was good. Second fight was a blowout, but the first fight was really good. Do you think that, Ralph Unreal, he says, do you think one day Belanga can become champion? He can improve, but people seem to not think he will. I mean, Belanga's a tough kid. He's big for 168, clearly carries some sort of power in both hands, but skill set wise, I think he leaves a lot to be desired. Very predictable lines of attack, comes in straight, square on, open for straight punches, as we saw against Casares. Defensively inept, not much of a jab. I mean, he's got a lot of work. He needs to do a lot of work. So I don't see Edgar Berlanga as like a precocious talent or anything like that. He's a strong kid who can punch. That's really about it, in my opinion. Like, compare him with, for example, David Morrell. Like, Morrell would piss all over him, in my opinion, and early as well. Munguia Charlo, what's going on with it? I was looking forward to that. Yeah, it looks like it's fallen through. I've not really seen the reasons why. But, well, actually, no, I'll take that back. The reason I heard was that, obviously, it's a voluntary defense. Charlo wanted a rematch clause. But Munguia wanted the rematch clause on DAZN. If Munguia won the fight, he would want the rematch on DAZN. That's what Munguia wanted. That's what I've seen is the sticking point. How true that is, I don't know. But reality is, if you're an A side and you're picking a voluntary defense, the rematch usually always happens on the same network. So I think Munguia might be asking for a little too much. Again, I agree with Munguia. That's how it should work, but it doesn't work like that. Charlo's the champion. He's the A side. It's a voluntary defense. So if you really want that fight, I think you should probably just do it. Florian Marco's boxing, is he? Sir Del, the degenerate executioner. Hope all is well, my man. What was your card with Wood versus Conlan, and what did you think of the official cards? The official cards were way too close. I felt Conlan was easily I'd say a good 4 points up going into that last round. At least 4 points. Yeah, Wasim's okay. I mean, I would describe him as a fringe contender. He's all right. It's not a terrible voluntary defense, but Sonny should piss it quite easily. Big up to the Shepherd of Sons. Punch Smollett. Berlanga looks crude, but in the amateurs, he was actually known as a bit of a boxer. I wonder if he's fallen in love with his power, or whether his skills were overrated and he's been forced to change. Yeah, that's true. You know, the puncher's arrogance is a real thing, no doubt about it, and it can definitely affect fighters in regards to their development. I think we saw that with Deontay Wilder to a certain extent, where he was, you know, he got to that point where he was so in love with his power and he believed in it so much that he kind of neglected other areas of his game. And he basically said as much after the second Luis Ortiz fight, because a reporter asked him, "Aren't you concerned that you're losing all of these rounds?" And he's like, "No, because all it needs is 1 second." And to me, that was telling, that comment when he. But yeah, I agree. Maybe he's fell in love with his power. Big up to Unrivaled, by the way. Salute to Unrivaled. Hopefully you're well, bro. Another reason for the Charla Munguia flop is that the PBC wanted it on Showtime regular. Golden Boy wanted it on the Zone pay-per-view, according to Keith Idek. Well, is that a pay-per-view fight, in my opinion? No. I mean, quite frankly, it kind of appears that it's Team Munguia who are holding that up. Honestly, I think Team Munguia maybe they were a little unrealistic. Ioka, no idea. No idea. I've not heard anything since his last fight. Dean White needs to get his own personality. Well, it's working for him, what he's doing. He's getting about, you know. Big up to True Crime with G-Man. Salute. Hopefully you're well, G-Man. Hopefully you're well. Yeah, Ioka Gonzalez would be great. Of course, the Polish judge was the only one that had it 105, 101. Yeah, go for it, G-Man. Go for it. There's so many cases out there, man. So many cases. You can smash it. 105, 102. Sonny Edwards versus Martinez. I mean, right now, I think Martinez needs a soft touch comeback fight, to be honest, after that beating he took. Yeah, Chris Van Heerden versus Conor Benn, shaking my head. Would rather see him against Kavalauskas. Yeah, that fight doesn't really do it for me. One thing you know with Chris Van Heerden, you will get rounds. He's a tough southpaw. Does all of the basics pretty well. He is fundamentally sound, but he's not particularly quick. He's not particularly powerful. And yeah, I don't really see that he poses Conor Benn that many problems, to be honest. Can't really see it. Can't really see it. It doesn't really hold any intrigue for me. I'm not for that fight, to be honest. I'd have liked something a bit better. Van Heerden was a great fighter in his prime, but he had far too many layoffs and ruined his career. He could have beaten Benn at his best, in my opinion. Yeah, he was okay back in the day. He was okay. If I had to compare him to a level, I would say in his prime, higher European level. I know he's not European, by the way. I'm just making a comparison. I just don't think Golden Boy want Munguia to step up. They just want to protect him and find an easy title opportunity. Already snubbed 2 WBO Mandos against Andrade and now Janabek. Maybe Adames next. It's weird what they're doing with Munguia. It's weird. Do you think Conor Benn's team are worried about his chin? I mean, he's never even faced anyone who can pop even remotely. Yeah, maybe it's ever since that Payernord fight, that first fight with Payernord, where he got dropped twice and hurt. Yeah, ever since then, apart from the Payernord rematch, he's not been in with a puncher. So are they hiding something? Who knows? Again, I get that Conor Benn had a less than stellar amateur career. I get that he's lacking experience, but when you're hyping a guy to the extent they are hyping him, I think it's reasonable to expect a better opponent than Chris Van Heerden. And I'm not asking for him to fight fucking Jaron Ennis or Virgil Ortiz, by the way. I'm not asking for that. All I'm asking for is for him to fight somebody with ambition, who's actually coming to win, who's not on the wrong side of 30, been through wars, etc., been through inactivity. You know, he's had those fights now. He's had those fights. It's time for a step up, in my opinion. That's how I see it with Conor Benn. Yeah, I forgot he beat Matthew Hatton, yeah. Dave Allen versus Alan Babbage. Dave said he wants the fight after he wins on the 19th. I mean, I'd watch it. I would watch it, yeah. Babic KO's Allen. In my opinion, Allen is punch drunk. Yeah, I agree. I think he would just work. I think he would just wear Allen down, outwork him and wear him down. I wouldn't be surprised if he's pulled off his stool, actually. I don't think Alan Babic would knock out Allen with one punch, but I can see him beating him up based on activity and maybe Allen pulling out or getting retired. Yeah, great game on Saturday. We rode our luck, but we needed that win, man. It's irrelevant, really, anyway, because we're not going to get the top four. We're not going to get the top four, but it was nice to win it was nice to beat a decent team. I heard Conor Benn turned down 700k to fight Avanesian. I heard around 500k, but yeah. I'd like to see Ben versus Stanionis. I know it sounds out of reach. I think that's a better matchup than people think. Tough to pick, in my opinion. Yeah, but Stanionis is fighting Radzab Butayev on the Errol Spence Ugas undercard. So those two guys are out of action right now. That's a great fight, by the way. Stanionis versus Butayev. That's a great fight. Yes, big up to 150 Dream Team. What's up, Del? What a war, man. I picked Wood to win 10th round KO, but I was 2 off. I've seen his last fight versus Zhu, and he's a very good fighter. Yeah, he performed really well out against Kanzu because he was expected to lose that fight as well. He was expected to lose that fight, and he came up with a great performance. You know, Leewood's a fun fighter. I think he's flawed defensively, and I don't think he'll pose someone like Navarrete a threat. But, you know, if you put him in the right fight, he's going to be in some wars. And he is a good fighter. He is a good fighter. What do you think? Who do you think from the Southport experience of Wallin? Hang on. Who do you mean how do you think from the Southport experience of Wallin to the confidence boost of the Wilder? Would you like to see AJ move next? I'm calling it as Wallin, but I think we'll get Ortiz. I mean, I'm honestly, as a fan, I want to see the Wilder fight, but I know that's not going to happen. If I was managing AJ, I'd look at either Luis Ortiz, who looked terrible in his last fight, or Otto Wallin, who again looked awful in his last fight. Both guys are southpaws, so you get another training camp fighting against southpaws, preparing for Usyk. And both guys right now are extremely beatable. Luis Ortiz, his punch resistance has gone, in my opinion. He's slower than ever. He's there for the taking. And Otto Wallin, in my opinion, is European level. Decent fighter. But Joshua would go through him like a doorway. He'd go through both guys. So I think both fights make sense for Joshua as an interim. Both fights make sense. I would prefer Ortiz just because Ortiz can punch, as old as he is. But I think it's going to be Wallin, like you said. If Joshua has an interim fight, I think it's going to be Wallin. Yeah, exactly. Nordic Warrior should not be. Yeah, Avanesian should not be allowed to box. It's his fault that the Putin administration for what the Putin administration is doing. Yeah. No, Lemieux is shot. Lemieux is done, in my opinion. He can still carry power, but I think Benavidez is just too big, too strong, too fresh. What's up, bro? Big up to Sadiq Boxing, by the way. Follow his channel. What's up, bro? What's your thoughts on Plant turning down for Benavidez fight? Disappointing. Again, rumors of Plant versus Anthony Durrell. Not interested. Not interested, man. Maybe that Canelo payday's just ruined his hunger. Because, I mean, it's a great fight. It's a great fight, Plant versus Benavidez. I've seen a few rumors that the zone sub counts in the UK is only 50k. If that's true, Hearn, I can imagine, is feeling it. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'd say it's probably a bit higher than 50k. Maybe like 100k, something like that. But, yeah, I mean, they've not really released any UK numbers, have they? So it's hard to say. It's hard to say. I mean, let's say they had something crazy like 3 million subscribers. I'm sure they would release that information, right? It's hard to say. Got to go. Gutted. I can't stay for Dell, the encyclopedia of boxing, live tonight. Have a good one. I'll leave you with a fantasy fight to think about. Babbage and Allen tag team versus White and Baby Ting. You got to go White and Baby Ting all day long, all day long. Baby Ting can pull out those MMA moves as well. Let's not forget. I think he's half and half, like Russian Armenian. Yeah, I think he's half and half. Yeah, Navarrete is too much. I think Navarrete is too much for anybody at featherweight, quite frankly. Armenian but Russian born, okay. Exactly. That's a great point, 150. I mean, what sparring partners can you get in to replicate Navarrete? The only guy close is Maurizio Lara, and he is Navarrete's friend, so he's not going to spar with you to prepare. I mean, there's nobody you can really spar with to replicate Navarrete. I could see Wallin outboxing AJ. Joshua's finished at this point. Listen, Joshua could be. Listen, he could be mentally done. He still beats Wallin. Wallin is not that good. In my opinion, he's not that good. I think Joshua goes through him. I think that Fury fight really flattered Wallin. I think it really flattered Wallin. Just my opinion. G-Man, I heard that it's around 100k UK subs monthly. That was from a programmer at The Zone. Interesting. I think Wallin will outbox AJ for a few rounds and then get knocked out late. I'll be honest, I can't even see him lasting all that long. I think he'll get taken out in the mid rounds against Joshua. I really do. Yeah, that'd been a great fight, G-Man. Plant turned down Benavidez fight. Damn, that's a shame. I'd be David, but still would like to see it. Yeah, I picked David, but yeah, would still like to see it. Yeah, Canelo. Yeah, exactly, bro. Canelo money or nothing for Plant. Yep. Yes, big up to Toti Quiros. Big up to yourself. Shout out to Blue Collar, and don't forget to spread the good old BDA gospel facts. Big up to BDA. Yeah, smash the like button, indeed. Smash that like button. XMB45. Tim Zhu, Charles Conwell, or Xander Zayas. Who's the better 154 prospect, if you can call the former two that? I mean, really, Tim Zhu at this point is a contender, and even Charles Conwell, I would say, is a contender. Xander Zayas looks good. He looks the part, but there's a lot to find out about Xander Zayas. Can he take a punch? How's he against a more negative fighter? How's he down the stretch when it's a hard fight? What's his gas tank like? Etc. Etc. We've seen him knocking over no hopers, which is what we expect at the start of his career. He looks good. He looks flashy. He looks powerful, but we shall see. But he looks like a top prospect. I actually think Magsayo beats Navarrete. Damn, I disagree. I think Navarrete he's too busy. He's too big. He's too strong. I think he'll outwork Magsayo. Wallin is shit, but it's not that hard to hurt AJ. Yeah, that is true, but is Wallin going to let his hands go? I don't think he will. I mean, he wasn't letting his hands go against Kamil Sakalowski. I dropped a guy in sparring, but I got caught with a nice uppercut, which made me bleed, laugh out loud. Listen, man, it's a good experience, Volta. It's a good experience. I actually never got dropped with a headshot, but I got dropped with body shots a few times. I can't lie. And it was never rib shots. It was always like hooks to the stomach or uppercuts to the stomach kind of thing, to the solar plexus. That's when I went down. This Bivol Canelo fight, as long as there is no rematch rehydration clauses, could be very interesting. I agree. Yeah, I would not consider Zhu a prospect anymore. I'd agree. He's a contender now. Yeah, I'd say he's a contender. Even I'd say the same for Charles Conwell. Who I like. He's a good fighter, Charles Conwell. Maybe, yeah. Could the commission apply sanctions on Bivol and maybe make him fight in lead boots for being Russian. Yeah, yeah, exactly. Wallin basically lost to Sakalovsky. To be honest, it was close. I probably felt Wallin nicked it, but he looked awful in that fight. Absolutely awful. Bivol will take a dive. I hope not. I've actually never been down or dropped in sparring, weirdly enough. Took some horrendous beatings, though, yeah. I took a few beatings as well, man. Again, I was dropped. I was dropped to the body, though. I was dropped to the body. Because we never, when I sparred, like when I was boxing and actually training, we rarely sparred with body protectors. I know we shouldn't have really done it, but, you know, when the coach weren't looking or he was out, because it was a all-day gym kind of thing. And yeah, we used to spar a lot of times without body protectors. Good times though, man. Good times. I don't think it's that simple. I think that's a hard fight for both. I'd actually probably pick Joshua. It depends, actually. If Joe Joyce can get through the early rounds, he's got a great chance of stopping Joshua late. But that's a great fight. I wouldn't want to pick that fight, to be honest. And until it's made and if it's official, I'll then do it. But right now, I wouldn't like to say. Because as good as Joe Joyce's chin is, you can't just keep walking through these sort of shots. You know? Eventually, it's going to catch up with you. I don't care who you are. And listen, for all his faults, Joshua can punch. He can definitely punch. Yeah, Bivol will forget to throw a jab and forget how to use a guard, yeah. Golovkin Canelo 3, I mean, as of right now, I'm not interested, to be honest. It's past its sell-by date. I mean, if Gennady Golovkin looks spectacular against Ryota Murata, maybe. But right now, I'm not really excited for it, to be honest. Past its sell-by date now. Honestly, I can judge being harsh on Bivol, not because he's fighting Canelo, but because of the situation. You know the one exactly. Yeah, I know what you mean, G-Man, yeah. You can see the judges being harsh, yeah. I've been dropped and beat up in sparring so many times. I'm a punch bag for white-collar fat heavyweights. Yeah, I'd be a bit of a punch bag right now, bro. Yeah, maybe bump of K. Maybe Wallin's one of those guys who raises his level when he steps up. Maybe, but I don't rate him that highly, I'll be honest. Like I say, he's a good European level heavyweight. I'd say prime for prime at his best, he's on the same level as someone like Ajit Kabayel. He's on the same sort of level. Not a bad fighter, but he'll get found out at the top level. I think the Fury fight for Wallin was like an anomaly, to be honest. YouTube boxing's more entertaining than some DAZN main events. Yeah. Well, to be fair, this last DAZN main event was fucking great. Yeah, I know. Joshua stopped Joyce in the amateurs. Yeah, he did. And they've done a lot of sparring together. And out of all of the AJ sparring stories, I've never heard that Joe Joyce said about him. Like, we've heard that David Price knocked him out. We heard Dubois knocked him out. We heard that fucking Lawrence Okole knocked him out. But I've never heard about Joe Joyce fucking him up. I agree, Toti Quiroz. I like Benavidez, and yeah, it's frustrating. It's super frustrating. A big part of the problem is that he's not active. It's insane. I'm 16 and I got destroyed by an amateur 14 years old who had an undefeated record of 7-0. Well, 14 to 16 is not really a big difference, so I wouldn't be embarrassed about it. Just learn from it. Learn from it. That's all you could do, really. Gennady Golovkin will probably stop Murata. Prime Golovkin stops him very early, very easily. I agree. I agree. Who do I have winning, Spence or Ugas? I've got Errol Spence winning. Maybe a late stoppage, but more than likely on points. Joyce has shown the ability to stay disciplined. Example against Dubois. Joyce's jab is like a sledgehammer. Joshua can't stand in the pocket. I agree with that, yeah. But he can, I think he can time Joyce from mid-range or on the outside. And if Joyce comes square and gets caught, he can definitely get hurt. He can definitely get hurt. Like to say, like there's a lot of people out there saying that Joshua can't hurt Joyce, or they're acting like that. He can absolutely hurt Joyce. And eventually his chin will fail him. Eventually. Yeah, Bevol's never really been all that affected to the body. He's not really had those sort of fight. He's not really had that sort of test. You're right. Hope Golovkin takes steroids for the third fight so he knocks Canelo the fuck out. Every other fight is doing it, so why not? Yeah, we just have to see what Gennady Golovkin looks like in Japan, mate. But agreed, should have happened 2 years ago. Exactly, bro. That's how I feel. Again, if he looks great in Japan, then maybe I'll be up for it. But if he looks like, let's say he wins, but he labours, gets hurt, goes to war, then no, I don't want to see it. Yeah, if Ugas beats Spence, I'd have him as number one welterweight. Yeah. Nah, it's not a bong. It's a fucking cigarette, man. Yeah, Ugas is worth a punt. Ugas is worth a punt. Joshua definitely beat Joyce in the amateurs. He definitely beat Joyce. I'm going to double check that, whether he knocked him out or not. Sure, he beat him. He beat Wallin twice as well. I know that much. Yeah, that's a quote from Joshua. He says, "I boxed Otto Wallin twice as youngsters, and I boxed Joe, and I stopped him in one round. I do the same thing today. Ain't nothing changed." Yeah, it's worth a bet. It's worth a bet. Ugas is definitely worth a bet against Spence. I'm picking Spence, but Ugas is worth a punt. Price with good stamina and a good chin, aka Prime Ivan Drago. Yeah, facts. Now he never got knocked out by Camille. He never got knocked out by Camille. He actually beat Camille in a bit of a robbery, in my opinion. Good fight. Juma could outbox him. I think what you'll see in that fight, Juma outboxes him early on and gets knocked out. It's a good fight though. It's a good domestic fight. No, I can't see it, Londoner in the sticks. Despite all of the names being linked with AJ, are we really going to see him in with anybody who's not going to be dangerous for him? Or are we going to get him in there with a big stiff wardrobe in a low-risk fight on pay-per-view? It's going to be a low-risk fight against a southpaw, like an Otto Wallin, I would say. That's my guess. And I think that makes sense. If I was managing Joshua, I'd do the exact same thing. While I'm waiting for Usyk, I would have him fight a mid-tier southpaw, because obviously training for that fight, you're going to be training against a lot of southpaws. You're going to be sparring a lot of southpaws. It's more experience against that stance heading into an Usyk rematch. So It couldn't hurt Joshua to do that. In fact, I think what's happened with Usyk is a blessing in disguise for Joshua. It was one of those amateur stoppages. Joyce wasn't dropped. Yeah, okay, cool. Makes sense. It makes sense. You watching Top Boy this Friday? I don't have Netflix at the minute. I got rid of Netflix a long time ago. Bet big on Juma. He's been waiting for a chance for years. He's not going to mess this up. I know he can box. I've seen him fight before. Whereas Richard Riakporhe is a big stiff puncher. So I expect Juma to win rounds. It's whether he can do that for 12, because I think it's a 12-round fight. It's whether he can do it for 12 rounds. Not sure. Yeah, Usyk lives a proper life. The injury, the crash, all of the late night drinking from Spence could come back to bite him in the arse. You might be right. You might be right. It's one of those fights that I wouldn't be shocked if Ugas won, but if Spence is where let's say he's where he was in the Danny Garcia fight, I still think that should be enough. To be honest, I think that should be enough. Not boxing related, but did you see the brutality that happened at a Mexican soccer game? Yeah, that was the other week. Yeah, I saw I saw a couple of videos. Yeah, gnarly stuff, man. Gnarly stuff. Really bad stuff. Amir Khan wants to continue boxing. If he fights Ben after Van Heerden, do you see a way in which he can win? Absolutely not. No. He's shot to bits. Amir Khan can't beat anybody of any consequence anymore. He's shot to bits. And I hope he retires, man, because he's been knocked out badly several times now, taken some beatings. He's 35 years old. I'd rather Amir Khan just retired now, to be honest. People from the country think that Top Boy is real London roadman life. Yeah, Top Boy's okay. It's fun, but I mean, I can take it or leave it. I actually enjoyed the Channel 4 versions better. I thought the Channel 4 versions were better, to be honest. No, it was Channel 4 or Channel 5, one of the two. Good time for Jake Paul to fight Khan? Why not, man? How long do you think the sanctioning bodies will give Usyk before they strip him? 6 months, a year, 2 years? They're not going to let him hold for belts forever, but I know they're going to give him time. But for how long? I think they'll give him a considerable amount of time, to be honest, because if they were to strip him, that would be a lot of bad publicity. You know, like how the mainstream media are painting this, and if they were to strip a Ukrainian because of the situation, they'll get too much bad publicity. So it's not going to happen anytime soon. Marku versus Avanesian would be a good fight. Yeah, I mean, Avanesian's too experienced. He's too experienced. Marku needs some fights still. He needs some more fights. I think Chris Jenkins would be a good fight for Marku. And that's another thing, Javier Martinez. Ugas won't get a decision versus Texas in Spence. That's another thing as well that you have to consider. So Ugas could beat Spence 7 rounds to 5. He's not going to get the win. He needs to dominate Spence, really. I'm really scared that it's going to be AJ versus Ortiz next. Wallin and Joyce started the conversation about being AJ's opponent, not the AJ camp. Maybe I'm just pessimistic, and I hope I'm wrong. Yeah, I mean, in all seriousness, I'd actually rather Ortiz than Wallin. I know Wallin's got more in the tank, but he can't punch. At least Ortiz can punch. I know he's old as fuck, but at least he can punch. I'm not sold on Wallin like that. I'm just not sold on him. Yeah, Conor Benn would wreck him. Yeah, absolutely. Did Maximus Jenkins make the right decision in rejecting $9,000 to face Ivan Drago? You mean Steve Robinson? Honestly, I've never seen this Maximus Jenkins fight. Fair play to him getting a pro license in his 30s. Ivan Drago's not great, but he's got some amateur experience. So yeah, he probably made the right decision. Yeah, Summer House was the original, more scripted now. Well, yeah, Babbage would smoke Tommy Fury, but Tommy Fury's too small. Carl Frampton would beat Tommy Fury over a 4-rounder. You might be right. He is that bad. He's awful, Tommy Fury. He is awful. McKinson had to travel over the Atlantic to face Ortiz when Ben is miles away. Laugh out loud. It goes to show. It goes to show. Yeah, he did. Yeah, so Ortiz was offered that fight when Jerome Miller when Jerome Miller was popped dirty. Luis Ortiz was offered as a replacement, but Team Ortiz turned it down. And that is on record. His team admitted that I think his manager actually said we made the wrong decision. But yeah, he was offered that fight. Yeah, yeah. Tommy Fury. Looking at Tommy Fury, it looks like he should have power, but his technique is poor. Marcy D. There's no torque in his punches. Doesn't rotate the hips or anything. His technique is just poor. I think you're being extremely optimistic, Pimp My Sniper. I think you're being extremely optimistic. Yeah, Jake Paul can punch, at the very least. He can punch a bit in his right hand. Who is Frank Warren going to dig up to face Big John Fury? Sorry. Yeah, who's Frank Warren going to dig up from the grave for Big John Fury to face on the undercard? Fucking Henry Akinwande, the rematch. I honestly believe that Jake would beat Tommy Fury. You never know, man. Tommy Fury is bad. John Fury's nickname should be the Ant Bully. Yeah, that was a bad look in my opinion. If McKinson looks good against Ortiz, I can see Josh Taylor targeting him for his first welterweight bout. I mean, I like to see it. Are you talking about Ortiz or McKinson? I actually give McKinson a shot versus Ben. I think Ortiz does beat him, though. I know people have been hating on him because he's lacking power, but he can box and avoid Ben for 12 rounds. Yeah, he's got good cardio. Michael McKinson, he's got good movement, like you said. He's awkward. He can switch hit. He's got a weird rhythm as well, which can really kind of disjoint your style. So yeah, I mean, McKinson would give Ben a lot of trouble. I still have a feeling that Conor Benn just overpowers him eventually. But that's a good fight, though. That's a good fight. Yes or no? Donaire has a better resume than Chocolatito. I say yes. I'd have to really look at both resumes side to side to really judge, but I'm not sure, to be honest. They are comparable. I'll say that. It's a good question, that is. They're comparable. One thing I will say, I think Roman Gonzalez is going to go down as the greater fighter, personally. But maybe John Fury is going to fight Mickey Theo on the undercard. Yeah, McKinson doesn't have any power to keep Ortiz off him. He leaves his chin in the air like Kid Galahad and is open for left hooks Ortiz KO 6 McKinson, yeah. Oh, you was talking about, yeah, McKinson versus Taylor if McKinson looks good and loses. Yeah, maybe. Maybe. If anybody could give Tommy power, it would be Sugar Hill. I just think he's shit, bro. I just think Tommy Fury is shit, to be honest. I mean, you could resurrect Angelo Dundee, and he's not going to do much with Tommy Fury. Lads, we have to support our fighter McKinson. I'm from Pompey, but can't stand fight fans from the UK going against him. I don't think anybody's going against him. It's just like being honest. He's going to get fucking squashed. That's how I see it. He's going to get squashed. McKinson will outbox Ortiz, not his style to fight toe-to-toe and give Ortiz the advantage. Ortiz may catch up to him, but I fancy McKinson to make it to the final bell. If he makes it to the final bell, I'd be very surprised. And that's a good look if he does. That's a good look if he does. Fighters like McKinson go underrated until they have a fight like Saturday. I mean, time will tell. Time will tell. I've got Virgil Ortiz round 5 or 6 stoppage. Should Chocolatito fight Rung Vasai a third time? Why not? Why the fuck not? Why not try and avenge it? I would. Yeah, go for it. I'd like to see it. I'd like to see it. And let's be honest. I mean, Rung Vasai's not been looking good lately, so why not? Wood will likely fight Kiko Warrington winner next, but I'd like to see him fight Lara. That'd be a fire fight. Yeah, that'd be a great fight. Lee Wood versus Lara. Not much defense there. That's a hell of a fight. Hell of a fight. But yeah, I think you're right. I think we're going to get Kiko versus Warrington. Sorry, we're going to get the Kiko Warrington winner fight Lee Wood. Yeah, that's how I see it. Any boxers with low KO ratios get underrated, in my opinion. I like McKinson; he can box, but it's a huge ask against Ortiz Jr. Yeah, there is something in that. There is something in that with a lack of power. Sometimes fight fans underrate the fighter's skill set just because they don't have power. But again, Michael McKinson is a good, tricky boxer at domestic level, right? I mean, let's not act like he washed Chris Kongo. It was a relatively close fight. It was a relatively close fight, and Chris Kongo is a basic boxer puncher, and McKinson was losing rounds. I don't think Michael McKinson has outworldly skills or anything like that. I think he does a lot wrong technically. Yeah, he's awkward, but I think you'll see on Saturday. Big up to Bruce Goes, man. Salute to Bruce Goes. Yeah, I think Roman would beat Rung Basai now as well. Yeah, imagine if Jake Paul knocked out Fury. Yeah, how would the Furies live that down? I think Tommy Fury, I think he would retire in daytime TV, you know? He'll be hosting daytime TV shows. Yeah, I didn't think the Wood fight would beat the Gill fight, but it did. Yeah, great fight. Both were great fights. Avanesian versus Ortiz would have been a much better fight. I think Avanesian has the chance to beat him. Avanesian would definitely be a better test for Virgil Ortiz, but again, I'd pick Virgil to beat Avanesian. Apparently, that could happen next. That's what I heard, but we shall see. Yeah, I've only seen that fight once, Jared, and at the time, I went against the grain. I had it a draw. But maybe I was biased going in because I watched that fight the next day and I knew the result already going into it. And I heard everybody call it a robbery. So maybe I looked at that fight, you know, with that in mind. I'm not sure, but I need to watch that fight again. But I probably got it wrong because that's the only scorecard where I've like. That's like the only time my scorecard's been criticised is that fight. So maybe I got it wrong. We shall see. I need to watch it back. He's a little similar to Lee Selby. A little similar. Leo Santa Cruz versus Maurizio Lara. That'd be a great fight. But again, yeah, can Leo Santa Cruz get down to 126? Probably not. Probably not, but it would be a great fight. Thoughts on Gary Cully? I rate him, but not sure on his ceiling. I hope Vasquez hangs him up now. Looked very shock worn the other night. Yeah, he did. He got knocked out quite badly as well. His ceiling, it's hard to say, but he clearly carries power. Very tall for the weight class, 6'2", rangy, decent on the outside. It's hard to say with Gary Cully. One thing I can say, I don't like his nickname, the Diva. Blair Cobbs versus Alexis Rocha on the Ortiz Jr. card. That could be decent, yeah. I don't really rate Blair Cobbs, but he's fun to watch. That's a good fight. That's a good fight. Who would you like to see Lubin fight next? He's actually fighting what's that guy's name? That big lanky dude. Who's that lanky dude? Sebastian Fundora. He's fighting Fundora next. Yeah, Fundora. And I think Fundora's going to knock him out. Lubin's a better fighter, but Fundora's so much bigger. He's stronger, and Lubin has a glass chin, so Lubin's not going to be able to keep Fundora off him. Yeah, I think I'd be the same, Marcy D. Andrade Lee, I'd favour Andrade. I just don't know how good Parker is. He can punch a bit. That's what it looks like, at least. But how good is he? It's hard to say. He looks good. He looks decent on film, but again, he's not stepped up, so it's hard to say. So I think the safe bet's Andrade. Yeah, really happy for Lee Wood. Such a stand-up guy. I really like that he's honest and admits to when he gets hurt. A breath of fresh air. I agree. Andrade KO's Parker. Yeah, you could see a. I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised. Off to Cheltenham, nice. I've got tomorrow off actually as well. I'm not doing anything. Well, I need to get my fucking haircut, but I'm going to try and relax tomorrow. I've got a few bits to do, but I'll try and relax. Yeah, that's his only chance, in my opinion, is a puncher's chance. Yeah, I had an 8-4. I had an 8-4 Castano. Yeah, horrible nickname. I don't know why he uses that. He's actually cool. Is Cully has the same mindset as you and me about everything. I've seen that on Twitter. G-Man. He seems like a seems pretty. He's got his eyes open. Put it that way. Parker's a very good fighter. Andrade might overlook him. Yeah, I mean, again, it's hard to say. It's hard to say. But he's clearly quite powerful. He's tall for the weight class, 6'2", tall, rangy, nice straight left hand. He's got some good attributes. Yeah, I felt Sergio Garcia beat Fundora as well. I felt he got robbed. Toti Quiros, it's annoying De La Hoya bashes Canelo about not fighting Andrade, but he won't let Munguia fight the same boxers he accuses Canelo of ducking, yeah. Oscar De La Hoya is just salty, though, that he lost Canelo. That's all that is. He's just salty. Seems like Andrade's whole career he's been fighting average UK guys. Basically, yeah, he should join the PBC. I think he'd get better fights over there. At least he could maybe get the Charlo fight. Okay, so apparently the Showtime schedule is going to be put out tomorrow. Okay. That's a very good question. What is my boxing nickname? I wouldn't know. I wouldn't know. I'd have to think of something different outside the box. Something outside the box. Not sure. That's a good question. What would be my boxing nickname? The Chubby Whisperer. No, I've got no idea. Yeah, I felt that Garcia was very unlucky against Fundora. I felt he flat out won, to be honest. But yeah, Lubin Fundora is an intriguing fight. Yeah, Lubin's better. Lubin's more skilled, but he's just his chin is so bad. Erickson Lubin. I can't see him going 12 and not getting caught by the bigger, longer man. I think he'll get knocked out. Blue balls. Yeah, fair play to Martinez for stepping up. Stepping up late, yeah. Exactly. Imagine if after Castano got injured, Spence stepped in to replace him. Exactly. That's exactly what he did, yeah. Delver Sheepshagger. Every female fighter is nicknamed the Assassin, yeah. Yeah, that's true, actually. My boxing nickname is Cold Blooded. That's pretty solid. I've not heard that before, being used by a pro boxer. That's original. That's original. And it all depends on your name as well. Like, the nickname has to ideally kind of ring with your name as well. Like, if you El Gallo Blanco. I've heard that before, you know. I'm going to translate that. What does that mean? Spanish to English. White Rooster. I like it. I like it. I quite rate Gary Cully. Not sure on his ceiling, though. Yeah, I'm the same. But I like that nickname, El Gallo Blanco. Big up to Quags, by the way. I see Quags down there. Big up to Quags. Fundora hasn't got the power to beat Lubin. Listen, I don't think you need much power to hurt Lubin. Terrell Gausha hurt Lubin quite badly. You know? I don't think you need much power to hurt Lubin. The Albanian Sniper, but that's been taken. That's a sick nickname. Oh my god. So apparently this is what PBC are planning. Benavidez versus Lemieux and Plant versus Durrell. I've seen rumoured, and then they're going to make Benavidez Plant for November. I mean, listen, why not just make that fucking fight now for summer? It's a great summer fight. It's a great summer fight. The white cock. I prefer the white rooster. Yeah, Mitch Blood Green. That's a good nickname, to the point. Yeah, Belanga's fighting Steve Rolls. Yeah, indeed he is, yeah. Yeah, Lubin's chin is awful, no doubt, no doubt, no doubt. Eggshell chin, G-Man, eggshell chin. Awful chin. But yeah, Belanga's fighting Steve Rolls. Steve Rolls can crack a bit, so it's interesting. Belanga went down, obviously, in his last fight, so who knows? But I think Belanga beats him. Big up E-Machines, big up E-Machines. Salute. Yeah, Plant doesn't want back-to-back L's, I agree. Yeah, that's the thing. That's the thing with Erickson Lubin. He's got nice skills, but yeah, his chin is just bad. Delve a conspiracy theory, boy. Uh, Now they should call me Del Pfizer boy because my jab is fucking potent. My jab is potent. It's a weak era we live in. Sorry, it's a weak era that we live in 115. Solid, but most of these divisions are cowards. Yeah, yeah. There's a few divisions that are not like that. One like flyweight, super flyweight, cruiserweight, 140. There are some good divisions, has to be said. I think Darrell's family forgot Darrell was still fighting Quags. Very good point. Yeah, Lubin, J Rock, Harrison, all good fighters, but can't take a punch at all. And yeah, all at 154. Yeah, exactly. None of these guys can take a punch. Yeah, didn't Lubin put Belanga on his ass in sparring? He did, yeah, he did. That was I'm pretty sure there's footage of that as well. Pretty certain. Sparring. El Mata Zetas, Zeta Killers. I'll leave the Zetas alone. Belanga was dropped in his last fight against Caceres. Yeah, he scraped the win. Yeah, that fight was he could have lost that fight. By the way, he could have lost that fight. Yeah, Khan, Linares, Gamboa, these fighters need to call it a day. Exactly. They're at risk of being chewed up and spat out by the sport at this point. They need to retire. Like Linares in his last fight, losing to Abdulayev. I mean that guy wouldn't have touched him in his prime, even like 3 or 4 years ago. If we got rid of all of these super/light divisions, it would make the others stronger. There are less titles and divisions for people to hide in. Yeah, I can see the argument. But I do think the junior divisions or light divisions, whatever you want to call them, they do accommodate guys who are in between both weight classes because those guys do exist. Those guys definitely do exist. So I don't necessarily think the number of divisions is the problem if boxing was regulated properly. Like if sanctioning, like let's say for example, if sanctioning bodies had more, they coerced with each other more to make unification fights. That in itself would be a big help. If promotional companies would work together more, that would be a big help. I don't necessarily think it's the amount of divisions per se. There's just too many people in boxing on different pages when it comes to making these fights. Rival networks, rival promoters, etc. And the thing is, given the fact that champions maybe fight once a year, if we get rid of these the super divisions, there's going to be a lot more. There's going to be a lot more of a logjam in certain divisions. So certain guys are going to be like on the outside looking in for a long time. So I can see both sides to the argument. I mean, I watched it on the night with my friends, and I wasn't scoring it, but it looked very close to me. It looked very close. Yeah, Lee Wood versus Maurizio Lara. I think Lara gets to him first, but it's a great fight. Yeah, Linares in his prime was so talented indeed. Yeah, hand speed, power, combinations, reactions, etc. His problem was always his durability. Yeah, exactly. The guy who dropped Belanga got KO'd by Billy Joe Saunders, and the guy wasn't a big puncher at 160. Exactly. It makes you wonder. It makes you wonder. Campbell Hatton improved a lot. I mean, he looked better in his last fight, but still very raw. Very raw. I hear IFL calling Khan a future Hall of Fame fighter. I don't see it. I mean, I mean, there are questionable guys in the Hall of Fame as it is right now, so you never know. You never know. I would say no personally, but my standards for a Hall of Fame would be a lot higher than the current one. So if I had my way, Arturo Gatti wouldn't be in there. You know, for example, Barry McGuigan wouldn't be in there. Another example. Yeah, Linares was an excellent boxer, but had glaring flaws that harmed him, but still a smooth boxer to watch, indeed, yeah. Listen, we're getting to that stage now with Crawford and Spence. We're getting to that stage now. I'm hoping Spence looks good against Ugas and we get that fight next. That's what I'm hoping, but I'm not holding breath for it either. I get the point about the junior weight classes, but I disagree. Look at MMA. They always complain there aren't enough weight divisions. Mm, I agree. I agree, Nathan. Warlock. What did I say about Lee Wood? Lethal Lee Wood. Get in there, my boy. That's a pretty good nickname as well, actually. Lethal Lee Wood. That's a pretty good nickname. Works well. Londoner in the sticks. Pimp Daddy Heyman milking the shit out of this PBC stable with that 168 round robin with those B-level dudes. I wonder if his and Floyd's ticket selling scam will run alongside the pay-per-view price fleece. Yeah, we shall see. We shall see. Has Wilder had his LSD yet to see his future? Probably did and saw Derek Chisora KO him. Laugh out loud. Listen, man, I hope he takes the LSD and I hope it makes him continue boxing because there are still some good fights out there for him. I want to see the Andy Ruiz fight, for an example. I hope he continues. I hope Wilder gives it one more run. I hope he gives it one more run. Just because there's a couple of fights I still want to see him in. Andy Ruiz, Joshua, Dillian White. There's still a lot of fights I want to see him in. I'm going to call it right now, Carlos Mendoza. I don't think it's going to get released. I don't think it's going to get released. I've got a funny feeling. I don't think it's going to get released. No, me personally, no. I wouldn't put Ricky Hatton in the Hall of Fame. Yeah, delayed for legal reasons. Yeah, exactly. Samuel Vargas lost a comfortable decision to Ranowski last night. Well, there you go. That's the caliber of opposition that Conor Benn is fighting right now. Washed up guys. When you're comfortably getting outpointed against Ranowski, there's something wrong. There's something wrong. Yeah, Wilder AJ. Wilder AJ is a great fight. Wilder Ruiz, Wilder Joyce, Wilder White. There's probably more as well. If I was in Wilder's ear, I'd say, listen, we'll give you a comeback fight against maybe Robert Helenius, which is credible, and then a big pay-per-view fight against Andy Ruiz and see what happens there. And if you win, you're back up there again. I mean, it's only going to take Wilder a couple of wins to get back up there. You agree on Ricky Hatton? Yeah. I don't think he'd... Listen, I don't think he should get in. I mean, if he does, fair enough. But I don't think he should get in. I think AJ KO's Wilder cold between 6 and 9. Ralph is the opposite. He thinks Wilder sleeps AJ in 3 rounds. That's going to be a fight in which who lands first and who is mentally more together on the night. That's all that's going to come down to. Who's going to be quicker off the draw? I've got a feeling right now, let's say it's for Wilder from the third Fury fight against the AJ from the Usyk fight. I think Wilder would pull the trigger first. I think Wilder would pull the trigger first and knock out Joshua. But, it's one of those fights. Both guys can get knocked out. It's a 50-50 in my opinion. And that's why I want to see it. I wouldn't trust AJ against Wilder to do that. AJ's more than capable of using distance control and smothering Wilder the way Fury did. He's also a better power puncher from range than Fury and a better counter puncher. True, but he's also, in my opinion, he's a lot more predictable than Fury. He's straight up and down. His head doesn't come off center line. And one thing about Wilder, he's got a knack of understanding where he's at to throw the right hand. He's actually got a good understanding of distance to a certain degree. So there could be a scenario where AJ thinks he's just out of range, but he's not, and he gets caught by that straight right hand, and he gets dropped and hurt. Honestly, not really Carlos Mendoza. Not really per se, but, someone like Ricky Hatton, for example, I just don't think he did enough. So, yeah, he beat Costa Zhu, who was past his best. Malignaggi, Carlos Mauser, an ancient Jose Luis Castillo. I mean, his resume's not super strong. Because really, that's what gets you into the Hall of Fame, right? Is body of work. And does Ricky Hatton have a good enough body of work to get in the Hall of Fame? In my opinion, probably not. Yeah, he's awkward, Wilder, yeah. I want to see the new Joseph Parker 2.0 take the Ruiz rematch. Parker looks much better, filled out into heavyweight and become a man, and trains alongside Fury, yeah. There were signs in that second Derek Chisora fight that Joseph Parker is improving. He was sitting down on his shots a lot more authority with a jab. But again, the lack of killer instinct, man, he could have got Chisora out of there in that fight, in my opinion. But he never did. He never stepped on the gas to get him out of there. Thank you, J-Man. Much appreciated. Thank you very much. I may be the last fan Andy Ruiz has. He's going to shock everyone again. He needs to get back in the ring, man. When did he last fight? Was it spring last year? Something like that. A long time ago now. He needs to get back in the ring. Yeah, Wilder might be done. Yeah, he might be done. Javier Martinez, he could be done, yeah. But again, I hope he comes back and tries to give it one more run. I still think Wilder will turn AJ into an ironing board. At this moment in time, Wilder has the mental upper hand on AJ and still has the killer instinct AJ has lost. Would be such a fun fight to watch. I agree. Would be a great fight. Wilder was able to pull the trigger while hurt versus Fury. AJ still hasn't convinced me that he can be hit and recover. Yeah, there's that as well. Like in a gunslinging type of fight, AJ's a better technician, no doubt about it. But I think Wilder he's a more natural fighter at heart than Joshua is, in my opinion. When shit hits the fan, I think Wilder's a more natural fighter, and in that sort of gunslinger fight, I don't think he'd be intimidated, to be honest. It's a great fight, though. Even thinking about that fight, man, it's a brilliant fight. I'll tell you what, man. If we never get that fight, that's a fucking crying shame. If we never get Wilder versus Joshua, because it could go either way. I'm not ruling Joshua out by any means. He could knock out Wilder in a couple of rounds, but Wilder could knock out Joshua in a couple of rounds. It's that sort of fight. Wilder has zero inside game, so all AJ would have to do is watch his distance and walk Wilder into an uppercut or hook. But it's easier said than done against Wilder. One thing, in that second fight, Fury was level changing while he was coming forwards. He was moving the head a little bit. He was feinting from throwing foot feints, hip feints, hand feints, etc. He was giving Wilder a lot to think about while coming forwards. Is Joshua going to do that? I'm not sure. Thank you, J-Man. Much appreciated. Big up to yourself. Big up to yourself. I'm leaning towards Canelo by controversial decision, but I can't remember how Bivol takes body shots, so I'm going to watch some film. Yeah, I mean, Bivol's not really been hit by many body punches. Not consistently, anyway. I agree, Brandon Blanco. I totally agree. Oh, 1.5 hours until the Bryan versus Dubois purse bid. Can Frank Warren make it a hat trick and win 3 purse bids in a row? He won the Fury White purse bid. He won the Andrade Parker purse bid. Can he win the Dubois Bryan purse bid? Uncle Frank's on a roll, man. Tim Bradley, arguably, yeah. And that's another one as well. Yeah, Louis Collazo on paper's a good win, but did Ricky Hatton win that fight? I agree with Javier Martinez. I think Louis Collazo won that fight, sorry. I think Louis Collazo won that fight. Louis Collazo, though, was a good fighter. I'm pretty sure he also had a controversial decision against Andre Berto. I remember watching that fight, but I forget whether Collazo should have won or not. But Collazo back then was a good fighter. Yeah, that's the thing, Javier. Andy Ruiz looked like shit in his last fight versus Areola, yeah. Let's say if hypothetically, in a hypothetical world, let's say that Hatton got a Hall of Fame win in Pacquiao, would that have been enough for the Hall of Fame? At that point, probably, yeah. If he had like a Pacquiao on his resume, yeah, probably, yeah. I'd say yes. Radzab Butayev, I like him. And yeah, the fight with Stanionis is an absolute war. Quite frankly, I'm picking Radzab Butayev. Stanionis, he's got a nice jab as he comes forwards, a nice compact style, decent overhand right. But to me, he is very rudimentary in his approach. Butayev, to me, is a bit more of a dynamic pressure fighter. To me, he's displayed better punch variety, better punch combinations, better output, and his foot speed is certainly more impressive. So for me personally, I see it being a war, but I'm going to favor Butayev's activity over Stanionis's, kind of economical approach. So I'm going to go with Butayev in a war. Good fight though, great fight, Ponas, great fight. How do you think Eubank Jr. does against the current middleweights? I think he'd probably beat Murata. Outside of that, in regards to top guys, I think Charlo beats him. I think Golovkin beats him. I think Andrade would beat him. But I think he could beat a Murata, maybe. It's postponed to the 21st of March. You got me excited there, Big Boys Boxing. I would say Beterbiev late stoppage, Glassjaw AJ. I think Bivol wins the early rounds, but I just think Beterbiev grinds him down. Similar to the Vodzik fight. Has YouTube demonetized your Disturbed Reality channel for the content? Certain videos get demonetized, other videos don't. It's a miracle that even some videos get monetized, to be honest. It's crazy. It's crazy. Yeah, I think Dubois flattens Bryan as well. Bryan is not very good at all. I'd favour Pacquiao, but do you know what? I think Prime Burn and Forrest stylistically would be a hard fight. I think it'll be a hard fight, but I'll take Pacquiao on points. Yeah, so apparently Andy Ruiz is not with Reynoso anymore either. Inactivity and not being able to keep a coach ain't good for Fat Boy, I agree. Again, Eddie Reynoso is not going to fucking waste his time with guys like Andy Ruiz or Ryan Garcia who are not taking it seriously. He's a professional, Eddie Reynoso, and he's not going to have guys who are not fully dedicated. That doesn't surprise me. I mean, I called for Ryan Garcia thing a while ago. I said I didn't think that would last, and it never did. And, you know, same goes for Andy Ruiz. I didn't call that one, but I'm not surprised. Exactly. Yeah, Sandor, you know, Trevor Bryan, he would be Dubois' best win. Listen, take the belt. The only annoying thing is the WBA regular belt. Like right now, Dubois he should not be fighting for any titles. He's not ready for anything like that because even when you have a regular world title, it really raises the expectations, and Dubois needs time to improve, in my opinion. Bryan is a good fighter for him right now, but I don't think he needs that title right now. Yeah, people think Marku's a stepping stone for Ben, but he is tough and ain't no stepping stone. Will be more close than people think. I think it'll be a decent fight. I'd take Conor Benn, but I think it'll be a decent fight. I'll definitely watch it. At least Florian Marku has ambition. He'll come to win. You know, he's not a faded guy who's seen better days. I think obviously, as we know, he's a trainer, but I think he also has some like management contracts with certain fighters. Like he doesn't just do training, as we know. Like with those Canelo negotiations, Eddie Hearn insinuated that Eddie Reynoso was hugely involved in those negotiations for the zone deal. So I think Reynoso is more than just a trainer. Yeah, he does a bit of he's kind of like a manager as well. But fair play to Eddie Reynoso. I think he's genuinely a good trainer. Is Sergio Martinez a Hall of Fame fighter? As much as I'd like to say yes, I'd say no. Good champion, no doubt about it. A good champion, but what are his standout wins? Kelly Pavlik, Darren Barker, Matthew Macklin, Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. Again, I don't think his resume is quite there. And he doesn't have the longevity either, like in regards to title defenses or anything like that. Oh yeah, and pharmacist as well, butcher. Yeah, Eddie Reynoso. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Reynoso gave the green light on Martinez. Yeah, he's more than just a trainer, no doubt about it. Who's the most unlikable boxer around today? Most unlikable boxer. Hmm. Most unlikable boxer. Honestly, I don't like Conor Benn. Not a big Conor Benn guy. Kell Brook versus Oh, that's another good shout, by the way. Chavez Jr. Kell Brook versus Conor Benn. I think Kell Brook would stop Benn before 6. Too much experience. And contrary to popular belief, I still think Kell has it. Risky fight for any top 147 or 154 pounders. The problem is the weight for Kell Brook. And I do think he's past it. I just think Khan was so much more past it. He made Kell look good. Or look decent, at least. But, Brook, in my opinion, can't make 147 anymore. Not healthily, anyway. Yeah, Belanga's unlikable. Ian Ward, fantastic as always, Del Boy. Who was the better fighter in general, Matthew Macklin or Jamie Moore? Well, of course, Jamie Moore beat Matthew. He knocked out Matthew Macklin. But in regards to prime for prime, who was the better fighter, I would say Macklin, to be honest. Like Macklin at one point, he was a genuine top 10 contender at middleweight. So I'd say Macklin overall. I would say Bradley's got a better chance to be in the Hall of Fame than Sergio Martinez, yeah. I'd say Bradley's got a better chance. Yeah, I agree, Dave. I agree. Pick up to Alex Perez, CJNG. Hopefully you're not a member, Alex. Hopefully you're not a member. Macklin was so overrated, got demolished every single time he stepped up to an even high domestic level. I mean, his best win was a loss to Felix Sturm. And I don't buy the narrative that that was a robbery. Looking back at it, it was a close fight, but it wasn't as bad as people made out. Yeah, Jamie Moore, very good trainer, and he's based as fuck. Yeah, I like Jamie Moore. He's a young trainer. He seems to be doing good things right now. Very calm in the corner as well. Very concise with his instructions. Yeah, he is. Yeah, you're right, Ralph. Yeah, Sturm is fighting this month. Yeah, he is. He's like 42, 43 now. Let's have a look. Felix Sturm. Felix Sturm. Yeah, 43 years old. He's fighting for the IBO Intercontinental Super Middleweight title against Istvan Sevili in Dortmund, Germany. There you go. Stern battered Macklin, in my opinion. Gave away the first few rounds, then gave him an absolute beating. Macklin was never the same after that fight. He almost got stopped in the 12th round. I'd have to watch it back, but I don't remember it being like a fucking robbery like people were making out. Like same goes for the what was the other fight against Martin Murray? That was another fight which to me was genuinely close. I think a draw in that fight was actually fair, to be honest. Big up Randy Orton, by the way, in the chat. We've got Randy Orton. Yeah, Josh Taylor is pretty based. Terence Crawford as well, actually, at the start of the you know what? He was coming out with a few gems. Big up to Cheap Nello Alvarez. Yeah, not much clean was landed, man. Both guys had nice high guards. Yeah, that was a bit of a dull fight from what I can remember. That was a bit of a dull fight. Martin Murray, man, in his day was a good fighter. Very good fighter, Martin Murray, in his prime. Like Martin Murray was like Martin Murray got jobbed in Argentina against Sergio Martinez, man. He won that fight. Yeah, indeed. Martin Murray was tough as nails, man. Tough as nails. Never gave in, never quit. I mean, he could have easily sat on the stool against Gennady Golovkin. He could have easily sat on the stool and just jacked it after a few rounds. Very tough man, Martin Murray. Not sure, Mr. Relax. Not sure. I used to hear about hooligans fighting after sporting events. Does that still happen over there? Occasionally, yeah, but not as much as it used to. But yeah, occasionally it still happens. But yeah, not to the extent that it did back in the day, you know. I think football now is better policed in the UK. There's more CCTV and things like that. So these hooligans have a harder time organising fights now. Because that's what it was. It was organised meets. You know, you'd have hooligans from one club against another set of hooligans from the other club, and they would just fight. You know, but it's not as big now as it was. No, I've not heard about that, bro. Randy Orton. Yeah, Tyson Fury's a sellout Nordic, no doubt. Funniest hating nicknames. Mine is Cheatnello Alvaroids, Amir Khan, Tony Bellend, Fraudley Harrison, Antonio Margachito. I'm trying to think. As much as I like Golovkin, I've got to admit, like Bumlovkin makes me laugh. I don't know why. That makes me laugh. Obviously, Amir Khan is a classic. That's a classic. Floyd Mayweather is another one I liked. Grabomir Klitschko or Grabomir Klitschko. There's a few, man. There's a few. Canelo Alvarez. Yeah, Sergio Martinez had a beautiful left hand. The sound it made with the connection, especially against Paul Williams. Yeah, that was knockout of the year, man. 09, I think it was. I used to see really extreme videos on Ubarm's World, mess my head up. I'm not sure what Ubarm's World is. Fraud Gayweather. At cruiserweight, has to be Usyk, I would say. Joe Joyce is taking shots at Shane McGuigan on Twitter. Madness. Yeah, I think Shane said AJ goes through him, basically. Let's have a look at Joe Joyce. So let's have a look at Big Joe Joyce. On Twitter, Joe Joyce. Joe Joyce is kind of funny, you know. That's another one, Slow Joyce. Oh, he's going at Joshua as well. He tagged in Joshua and at Anthony Joshua. You having a meltdown? Where's all your belts? All of those sponsorships and endorsements helping? You're a glass cannon. Quit the act. You were given everything. Hashtag easy mode. Joe Joyce is going in, man. And now, in regards to McGuigan, he says, "I used to have respect for at Shane McGuigan. I take it all back. You have no respect for what I've achieved and will achieve. I'm so glad I didn't sign with your Cyclones promotion family. Tell your son to wind his neck in and concentrate on picking Daniel Dubois off his knees." Okay, cool. Joe Joyce is going in. Big up to Joe Joyce. Yeah, the Bitchko sisters. Yeah, he was saying to Barry McGuigan that he's glad he never signed with Cyclone, telling fucking Shane to pick up Dubois. Big up Joe Joyce. Anthony Mundine, yeah, two based actually. I used to think Joyce and AJ were mates from all of the GB camps, after all of those years, and even with Rob McCracken. I think Joyce is just trying to get his name out there. To be honest, you know, he's just trying to get his name out there. He's not a big name in the UK, not really. Despite being like a silver medalist at heavyweight, he's not a big name. So I think he's just trying to build his profile, and I think he would take that fight as well. Yeah, Joe Joyce getting seriously smoky, man. Big up Joe. Yeah, man. Why not? Why not? We're just going at AJ. Oh man. And the state of the comments. Oh, Joe, you can't say that. You can't say that. Why can't he say that, man? Why can't he say that? Somebody said in the comments, rumor has it took Joe 2 weeks to type that, and Joe Joyce responded with like a gif of like some retarded looking animal typing. That's what I like. A sense of humor. A sense of humor. If you listen, if you can laugh at yourself, you can laugh at other people. Facts, pimp my sniper. Facts. Yeah, Anthony Mundine, man, he got himself in some serious trouble on a few occasions. Ben Shalom, I mean, he seems all right. He seems okay, to be honest. He's made a better start than I thought he would do at Sky. He's made a better start than I thought he would do. We'll see how he goes. Yeah, Joe the Twitter troll Joyce. My favorite comment is, "I'm your biggest fan, but..." Yeah, tell me about it. Tell me about it. But yeah, big up Joe Joyce. Oh, man, oh, man, oh, man. Rumor has it Eddie Hearn bends over for Anthony Joshua. I think Canelo is now the flavour of the month for old Eddie Hearn. I think Canelo's now the flavour of the month in the Matchroom offices. He's puckering up for Canelo now. He's got Canelo on a 2-fight deal or 3-fight deal, one of the two. So Eddie needed that as well, by the way, at the zone. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So yeah, based. Yeah, based means somebody who is controversial but not afraid to say the truth, like Merchant. Yeah. Weirdly, though, these days, when it comes to quote unquote based opinions, a lot of these opinions are just common sense. They would have been just seen as common sense back in the day. They're not even like outwardly controversial or necessarily going after anybody. That's how soft the world has got now. It's crazy, man. It's crazy. Ben Shalom comes across as the ultimate arse licker to me. Seems to be doing a good job, though. Yeah, I mean, time will tell, man. He's very young in the game, you know. Time will tell. To be fair, Colin, one thing I will say about that, in regards to Ben Shalom and his comments after Taylor Catterall, Would he have said that if he promoted Taylor? Like, actually promoted him? Not so sure. I know he works with Top Rank, but if that was his fighter, would he have said the same things? Not sure. Not sure. Frankie Gavin was a waste of talent, in my opinion, Ian Ward. Very, very good amateur, but lazy, ill-disciplined. He was never a welterweight. Should have been at 140. Had a lot of talent, but yeah, never really lived up to it. I have a feeling Virgil Ortiz is bisexual. Now, leave Virgil alone, man. Sup, Dale, how's this for an opinion? I feel as if all fight fans, even more so hardcore fans, should have some semblance of fighting ability or stamina. Wrong? That's a very good question. That's a very good question. I'll put it to you like this. Listen, I've only sparred. I've not had any amateur fights. I've sparred a hell of a lot. I've not had any amateur fights. And even sparring to a certain degree has helped my understanding of boxing. So it definitely helps. However, I will say that kind of mindset at the same time is like when Tony Bellew says, well, you can't have an opinion on boxing if you've not been a world champion or something along those lines, you know? So listen, it's beneficial in my opinion, but I wouldn't say it necessarily means that you don't know anything about boxing or you can't score a fight or you can't predict a fight. It's a good question, though. It's a very good question. Focus on creativity. It's a very good question. Ben Shalom seems like a bit of a snake to me. Don't trust him one bit. If I was Taylor, I'd cut all ties with him immediately. Honestly, no. I think Kell Brook gets squashed against Charlo or Castano. I think he gets squashed. I still think he's shot. I just think Amir Khan was that shot. He made Kell Brook's shotness look less shot. It was kind of shotception, basically. But yeah, Kell Brook is done. He's done, in my opinion. Yeah, Frankie was a great amateur. Blue Collar, could you please say these words? Panic on the streets of London. Panic on the streets of Birmingham. Yeah, Billy Joe Saunders, he's looking like a heavyweight right now. If/when Usyk makes a return, I feel sorry for anybody who's in the ring with him. He's going to be in there with a killer mindset. Which boxer do you reckon is in the LGBT community? Listen, I think the easy answer would be Ryan Garcia, but I don't think he is per se. I don't think he is. I'm going to say Dave Allen. I've heard a few things about old Dave that could lead you to believe he's that way inclined. I'm going to say Dave Allen. Or Kell Brook would have been an easier answer. But I'm going to say Dave Allen, just to be a contrarian. Orlando Cruz was definitely one. Yeah, some of us on here who have never competed in boxing are better at predicting fights than pundits and ex-world champions. There's that as well. Like David Haye was a 2-weight world champion. Great amateur as well. But that guy can't pick a fight to save his life. You know? Because I think, believe it or not, there are boxers out there who can't read fights. They can't break down a fight technically and see how the styles are going to work. Those fighters do exist. Like Malinaji, he can break down a fight. He can break down a fight, but not all fighters can. Yeah, Brook wants to fight Eubank. Yeah. Who wasted their career the most? I'd say Gary Russell because I think Gary Russell was far more talented. Far more talented. Yes, big up to John Gonzalez, by the way. Big up to John Gonzalez. Salute. Yeah, Bellew was a good fighter, but as a pundit, he's shit. Yeah, man. Eddie right now is doing what he can to get that DAZN ship sailing. And I don't blame him. I don't blame him. He needed that Canelo deal, man. After losing that purse bid, he lost the Andrade Parker purse bid. His American stable was looking quite thin. He needed that Canelo deal. Chisora might be. He's done some questionable things. True. Zarafa. Del, did you hear about Dave Allen? He's got a woman up the spout and he's going to be a dad. No, I never heard that, to be honest. I never heard that. Yeah, Fury picked Eric Molina to be AJ, boxing expert, total genius, laugh out loud. Sometimes with Tyson Fury, his picks are so shit, I think he kind of does it for purpose sometimes. Like, there's no way on God's green earth he thought Molina was going to beat Joshua. No way. Exactly, yeah. That is true as well. If you've been in the ring before, sparring or fighting, you realise how tough it is. It does give you a. I think it's given me a better understanding, to an extent, of boxing. Yeah, Nassim Hamed on commentary when he told Eubank he should quit. Oh man, I think he should quit. Big up to Prince Nazim. Eddie probably misses Sky Sports now. They were great at marketing his fighters and pushing for pro-matchroom propaganda. They were indeed. And most importantly, Sky had the Sky Sports machine as well, which was great for promotion. And they had Premier League football where they could advertise boxing at half time or whatever. Like, Sky had so much more promotional power and marketing power in comparison to DAZN. So yeah, I think it's been a hard slog at DAZN UK anyway. It's been a hard start in my opinion. Yeah, I know what you mean, Warlock. I know what you mean. It does put it into perspective when you actually watch like a talented fighter, and when you spar, it puts it into perspective. That's true. Yeah, definitely it does. It definitely teaches you the reality of levels in boxing. Facts. Yeah, that's what we're paying for. Well, I'm not paying for it, but yeah, BBC News. They can't even differentiate between Vladimir Klitschko and Vitaly Klitschko. That's insane. That's insane that even got broadcast. Oh, is Chocolatito back in the pound for pound rankings? Good, good. The only thing DAZN has on Sky is Laura Woods over Anna Warhouse. I agree. Let's go, White China. Let's go, baby. But yeah, you're right, Nathan. You're right. I agree. I agree. Closing this shit. 1 second. Lost the fucking tab. There we go. Yeah, close that shit. Conlan Wood was a great fight, and Gil Gurphy saved that Okoli card in my opinion. That was awesome as well. Yeah. Jordan Gill versus Karim Gurphy was one of the best European title fights I've seen in a while. It was up there with Alex Dillamangi versus Samir Zouani. That was a great fight as well. No, not yet, bro. Not yet. I mean, your old Dar was in here earlier. He was saying he's heard around 100K. He was saying he's heard around 100K. I'm not sure, though, honestly. I mean, I'd like to know, but who knows? I don't think that Fury retires, especially if he puts on a good performance against White. No, he's talking shit, Dave. He's talking shit. He's just trying to sell his fight. He's not going to retire. If he loses, who knows, maybe. But if he wins, he's not going to retire. At home, Warlock. Most of the experiences I've had at big fights, actually seeing them live, I mean, listen, the atmosphere is good and whatnot, but a lot of the time it's pretty shit. Like, for example, I watched Billy Joe Saunders versus Chris Eubank and Fury versus Chisora 2. That was the same card. I watched that live. And yeah, it was a good card, but like, first and foremost, there were fights everywhere. Like, every other person was doing coke and God knows what else. And the show ran till like 12:30 at night, something like that. So getting home was a pain in the ass. The best experience I had was watching Froch versus Bute in Nottingham. That was a good experience. But honestly, sometimes it's not worth the hassle going to see boxing live. It depends on the arena, depends on the fight as well, obviously. No, Conlan said he's going to come back. Conlan said he's going to come back. And listen, man, he lost that fight, but after how good it was, he's gonna have some more fans now. So he'll come back. He'll come back. Listen, I mean, before this fight, I've not enjoyed a single Michael Conlan fight, but now I want to see him fight again. So, yeah, Dubois versus Yoka, that would be a good fight. But yeah, Yoka's fighting, what's his name? Bakole next, which is a good fight in itself. When I went to Warrington versus Galahad, we spent ages trying to get back to the car. Massive queue at the car park in Leeds. Yeah, man, I can imagine. I can imagine. Sometimes it's a fucking hassle. Sometimes it's a fucking hassle. And especially for me, like, you're kind of similar. You've got to travel for like fights. So do I. I've got to travel. You know, it will basically kill a whole day, man. It will basically kill a whole day. Yeah, going to a Taylor fight in the Hydro is fine because I can walk there from the house, can see it from my window. Exactly, that's ideal. That's ideal, man. See, I've got nowhere like that near me. Nowhere near my area shows boxing. The only time boxing was hosted around my area was Billy Joe Saunders against Shifat Isufi, and I'm not going to go and see that fight with all due respect. You know. But anyway, guys, I'm going to wrap this one up. We've been going for 2 hours and 10 minutes, which is pretty good. But yeah, hopefully you enjoyed it. Have a good week. And yeah, I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.